So let's jump right in. In this explainer, we're going to tackle a huge question, one that's kind of obvious, but also really deep. Why do we even have laws? I mean, think about it. We live by them every single day. But at the same time, we're often so cynical about the whole legal system, the courts, and especially the lawyers. It's almost a universal joke, right? The ambulance-chasing lawyer stereotype. It feels like one of the few things everyone can agree on. But this isn't some new trend. This feeling, this deep skepticism is ancient. And that's our way in, you see. We're going to use that very feeling as a doorway to get at the fundamental case for law itself.
All right, so to really get to the heart of why we need law, we first have to unpack why we're so suspicious of the people who practice it. This perception is, well, it's often pretty harsh, but you see it everywhere.
I mean, this goes way, way back. We're talking Shakespeare here. For centuries, writers have painted lawyers as the bad guys. This isn't just a phase. It's a feeling that echoes through history, pointing to this really deep-seated mistrust of the people who navigate the rules of our society. And if you think that's just old news, fast forward to modern cinema, and the critique is just as brutal. This line from Al Pacino playing the devil himself, literally as a law firm partner, just perfectly captures our deepest fear, that the whole legal system isn't just a little flawed, but that it's a structure built on moral compromise, with evil sitting right at the very top. Our distrust is so deep, it's literally baked right into our language. This simple little pun reveals a huge public assumption that practicing law is basically the same thing as deception, that a lawyer's job isn't to find the truth, but to twist it. And just look at the stories we tell about them. Even when they're the heroes, like Atticus Finch, they're often portrayed as these noble but kind of haunted figures. Then you've got the other side of it, right? The morally shady characters in John Grisham thrillers or shows like Suits. The theme is always there. The lawyer is almost always compromised, tempted, or fighting for their very soul. Okay, so we've established this. We're all deeply skeptical, we see lawyers as liars, and the legal system as a pyramid with Satan on top. But that brings up a much bigger, much more fundamental question. Seriously, why would we build this entire, massive structure that we seem to instinctually mistrust? Why not just get rid of it? It's a pretty radical thought, but believe me, philosophers have been wrestling with this one for centuries.
Well, according to the philosopher Dennis Lloyd, the entire debate really boils down to one crucial belief. At your core, do you think people are basically good or basically bad? Your answer to that single question changes everything. And this is where you get these two totally opposite camps. On one side, you have thinkers like Ovid and Seneca. They were optimists. They believed humanity is fundamentally good and that law is just this unnecessary burden. But on the other side, you had groups like the Chinese legists, who argued the exact opposite, that man is naturally vicious and needs the rigid control of law to stop society from tearing itself apart. And this is where it gets really tricky. Because, hang on, here's the paradox, right? If we're all inherently good people, then of course any laws we create would also be good. But if we're inherently bad, how could we possibly be trusted to create just and fair laws? We'd only make laws that serve our own vicious nature. It kind of feels like a philosophical dead end.
So how do we break this deadlock? Well, let's step away from the abstract debate for a minute and dive into a story that puts these ideas to a real-world test. It's the tragic story of a man named Michael Kohlhaas, a man who pushed the very idea of justice to its absolute terrifying limit.
So picture this guy. Kohlhaas was, by all accounts, a model citizen. Honest, religious, a loving family man. But one day, a local nobleman wronged him, stole his horses. A simple, straightforward injustice. So Kohlhaas did exactly what you're supposed to do. He went to the law for help. But the system completely failed him. His case was thrown out because of corruption and backroom deals. The very institution that was designed to give him justice denied it. And that's the critical moment. That's when everything changes. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't just about simple revenge for Kohlhaas. He felt a moral duty, not just for himself, but for everyone, to see justice done. He believed it was his obligation to the entire world to restore the law. And to do that, he became a one-man army, an Attila, waging war and burning cities, all in the name of a single moral idea: justice. Eventually, the state has to take notice. He's offered a deal, a promise of safe conduct to have his original case heard fairly. He lays down his arms, but the system betrays him one last time. His safe conduct is violated, and he's condemned to death. So, what does this tragic story actually tell us? Well, Kohlhaas's fate reveals the most terrifying possibility within any legal system, the moment it turns on itself. This brings us to this chilling concept known as judicial murder. This is the ultimate form of corruption. It isn't just a bad ruling or a simple mistake. It's when the authority created to be the law, to guard it, becomes the very thing that destroys it. This powerful metaphor says it all. The protector becomes the killer. The doctor, who is sworn to heal, becomes the one who takes a life. It's the ultimate betrayal of the social contract. And here's the really wild part. In the end, just moments before his execution, Kohlhaas actually gets the justice he sought for his original claim. He dies having won his case. So yes, the state branded him a criminal, but he died a martyr for the very idea of law, a symbol of what happens when a person's basic sense of what's right is violated by the system meant to protect it.
So where does this leave us? I mean, after seeing how horribly a legal system can fail, how can we possibly make a case for it? We're back to our original question, but now with a much deeper and maybe heavier understanding.
This quote, it probably sounds different now, doesn't it? After the story of Kohlhaas, you realize that the law being the best reason of wise men isn't a fact. It's an aspiration. It's a goal that's constantly under threat from corruption, from power, and from our own worst impulses. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. The case for law isn't that it's a perfect system. It's not. It's messy, it's flawed, and as we've seen, it can be terrifyingly unjust. But the struggle for it, the constant fight to hold it accountable, to demand fairness, that is the only thing that guards us from chaos and from the more vicious side of our own nature.
Michael Kohlhaas's story shows us the law at its absolute worst, a system capable of judicial murder. And yet, his story also proves that the human impulse for justice is one of the most powerful moral forces on Earth. The great paradox is that the flawed system that can betray us so profoundly is also the only arena we have to fight for what is right. So we're left with this question. If the law can fail so badly, why is the struggle for it our greatest, most essential duty? Thanks for watching.